On 10 News.
Oh, it hurt. It was really tragic to see my kid crying when I couldn't do anything about it.
A Navy family helplessly watches a man steal their little girl's bike. The surprising reason the mother hopes the thief is watching.
And I'm in the 10 News Live Center following that breaking news on the school shooting that left this teacher and another student dead and seriously injured another, sending them to the hospital.
From cleaning your hotel room to cleaning their own prison cells, the owners of a company hired by the Hotel Del Coronado are now behind bars.
But we begin with a Team 10 investigation.
This wouldn't happen in La Jolla. Why is it happening here this long? 3 years.
Neighbors say the property where a 9-year-old girl was found living in a shed is still wreaking havoc on their quality of life, and no one's doing anything to stop it.
Team 10 investigator Adam Rakusin spoke with the Lakeside father who wants this house next door condemned. Adam.
Yeah, and Robert Miller says he contacts the sheriff's department at least twice a week. But there's nothing being done about this house that you can see behind me. Now, this house is no stranger to the sheriff's department, but a sheriff's official tells me they can't just make people leave.
It's just a bruise in the society of this neighborhood.
Fed up is the nice way Robert Miller describes how he feels about his next-door neighbors.
I hear constant yelling, cussing, get the F out of my house, or get the F off of my property. I hear, I'm going to kick your ass, I'm going to kill you.
Miller has two kids, 12 and 14 years old. He says he tries to keep them away from the sights and sounds of the neighbors.
The trash is piling up in their front yard now.
Miller tells me he worries about the strangers constantly coming in and out of the house at all hours of the day and night.
It's ridiculous that I've had to live with this for the last 3 years.
He says he's reported his concerns to the sheriff's department, and detectives are well aware of the house.
What about the little girl?
Almost a year ago to the day, deputies found a dad raising his 9-year-old daughter in a shed behind the Lakeside house. Deputies also found guns and meth in there. In an exclusive interview with 10 News last year, the dad described this Lakeside home like a flop house, where anyone can crash in tents and sheds in the back.
It was either that or stay in my truck, you know, and because I didn't have enough money to go out and rent a motel that night.
Miller's convinced nothing's changed, so I took his concerns to his neighbors.
Hi, I'm Adam.
This is Harvey. He says he's the homeowner's boyfriend and lives at the house. Harvey tells me he was arrested in the raid last year, but insists there are no drugs at the house. He admits there are a lot of people coming and going. We saw that firsthand, multiple people in less than an hour. Even during our conversation, someone on a bike rode up. Harvey told him now's not a good time.
Well, our deputies are aware that there is an issue.
Ryan Keim is with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department.
That's it.
He says they understand the homeowner's frustration, but there's not one easy solution.
It takes a concerted effort, some commitment from the neighbors, from the police department or sheriff's department working together.
I'm tired of it. I just want something done about it.
And Harvey, who lives next door, tells me he's going to do a better job of keeping the noise down, and he's trying to cut down on the people showing up at the house. The sheriff's department says if you have a similar situation, call them so they know when and where things are happening. Adam Rakusin, Team 10.
And we continue to follow that breaking news. A vigil for the victims of that deadly San Bernardino school shooting is set to start at any time now. So we want to let you know what we know at this point. One of the victims, an 8-year-old boy named Jonathan Martinez, he and his teacher Karen Smith, they were killed when her estranged husband, Cedric Anderson, walked into her classroom and started shooting. A 9-year-old student also shot but is in stable condition. Then Anderson turned the gun on himself. We're hearing now from a teacher's aide who knew Smith.
A wonderful teacher. I believe she just got married. The students were good, really loving. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And here's some photos right This is Karen Smith here, and this is the suspect who turned the gun on himself, Cedric Anderson. Both are 53 years old. We're going to keep monitoring this story, and we're going to hope to bring you live pictures of the vigil when it begins. Back to you.
Thank you, Emily. A developing story now. An El Cajon teenager still nowhere to be found tonight after disappearing while swimming in Mission Beach with friends. And 10 News reporter Gracia Aguilar is live with the latest on the search efforts and advice from a concerned swimmer. Gracia?
Good evening, Kimberly. Yeah, there's still no search of that boy. There's still helicopters out here, though, and a boat with a scanner looking for the 17-year-old until the sun goes down. Now, a body surfer says rip currents can be very dangerous, so he recommends beachgoers to carry gear like these fins to be safe.
Very important. So make sure you have your leash on for safety.
Matthew DeMacco spent the day in the ocean with his friend and kids.
I'm always concerned when I see kids get out any time out in the ocean.
He body surfs in Mission Beach often, knowing how to swim in different conditions.
Today there's a lot of white water, right? And there isn't really any breaks between.
Sunday night, lifeguards looking for a 17-year-old who went missing after going into the ocean to swim with friends. Efforts to find him continued into today, with still no sign of the teen. After hearing about the tragic disappearance, DeMacco's is asking other swimmers to be safe.
If you don't have fins, it's hard to get in and out of rip currents.
From bodysuits and fins, he says having the right gear is important.
And plus it's buoyant, so you can float a little bit.
His advice for people if they're stuck in a rip current:
if you're ever in a rip current, you're supposed to actually go with it and not fight it, and that's where people get into trouble, they fight it.
DeMacco says when in doubt, stay close to the shoreline.
If you're going to be on the beach and go for a swim, be by the tower, be by the lifeguard stands, be close.
Lifeguards also recommend the same thing, to swim near or in front of a lifeguard tower. And if you're not a strong ocean swimmer, to wear a Coast Guard approved life jacket. Reporting live in Mission Beach, Gracia Aguilar, 10 News.
Always good advice. Thank you, Gracia. New developments in San Diego's drone laws. The city council has unanimously approved a fine for owners flying their drones near airports or emergency operations. Violators could face a $1,000 fine, or they could also get 6 months in jail. The city attorney's office will also work with the Department of Homeland Security to make sure that any changes to federal rules are reflected in those local laws.
New developments. The county tax website is up and running again after a brief outage earlier today. This is what people trying to pay their property taxes on time were greeted with about noon today. The message said that several county sites were temporarily down, but it appears they're working again, and today is the deadline to pay property taxes. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but income taxes have to be filed by next Tuesday.
New at 6, you're taking a live look at the Hotel Del because the couple who owns the company used to clean it. That's the beach out front there. They're going to spend the next few years behind bars. Stephen and Stephanie Kwan have pleaded guilty to fraud. They spent nearly a decade lying about how many people work for their company, which is called Good Neighbor Services. According to the UT, it was so the couple could avoid paying workers' compensation insurance and payroll taxes. Stephen Kwan was sentenced to 8 years in prison. His wife was sentenced to 6 years.
Happening now, thousands of service members who call San Diego home are headed toward North Korea. The USS Carl Vinson received its orders over the weekend after North Korea launched a missile into the ocean, and that act of aggression turned what was supposed to be a routine deployment in the Western Pacific into a dangerous mission for more than 7,000 service members. There is speculation there may be another nuclear test later this week.
And we've got a crime alert. Police are trying to get a pair of dangerous drivers off the streets tonight. They're hoping that a license plate that was left behind at this crash in Hillcrest will help lead them to one of those drivers. That person hit 2 parked cars on University and 12th last night. There was one person inside one of those cars, but we're told that he's doing fine. And then we've got this one that took place in the South Bay last night. A crash sent an SUV's front wheel flying across the street in National City. The SUV then hit 2 parked cars last night on Euclid. The car's doors were bashed in and the SUV's front left wheel ended up on the other side of the street. The driver was gone by the time the police arrived.
A developing story. Governor Jerry Brown expected to sign a bill today that will make driving more expensive. Gas tax and vehicle registration fee increases will fund a $5 billion a year road repair package. San Diego drivers that we spoke with appear divided on the governor's plan.
Honestly, I think he should take a pay cut out of his own salary to pay for the roads and whatnot.
If it's just 12 cents, that's not actually bad.
Well, that 12-cent gas tax hike goes into effect November 1st. Registration fee increases take effect in 2018. And the annual $100 fee for zero-emission cars takes effect in 2020.
California is doing better financially than Governor Brown projected in his proposed state budget. The state brought in more than $7.6 billion in revenue during March. That's about $1.7 billion more than projected. Income taxes accounted for most of that money, bringing in just under $4 billion.
San Diego-bound passengers who were bracing for impact are safe after an emergency landing. The Alaska Airlines flight was headed from Sacramento to San Diego when an alarm went off in the cargo hold. The pilot diverted to Modesto as the 62 people on board prepared for disaster.
They wanted us to check the cards, the information cards on safety procedures and all that, and check out, make sure we're aware of the brace position. So it was pretty scary. I think for about 15 minutes, we really weren't sure kind of where we were going to end up.
Ground crews checked the cargo hold, but there were no signs of a fire.
And we've got new information about a plane crash that killed a Southern California family flying to Oregon. The Zetting family took off from the Van Nuys Airport in the morning of the accident. They were headed to Eugene on a charter, but the pilot flew past the airport, suddenly turned, then went down in that grass field. Investigators are now trying to figure out why the pilot missed the airport.